Our goal was to identify everybody that was involved and not just in the drugs part of it, but just in constructing the tunnel. That in and of itself is a crime. Beneath Arizona's soil, a secret super tunnel built like a subway was uncovered. Within days, DEA agents stormed the network, seizing 4 tons of cocaine and arresting 62 suspects. Yet, investigators fear this tunnel's sophisticated design points to something far darker, an underground system built for more than smuggling drugs. The discovery of the Arizona super tunnel. In late June 2025, U.S. authorities uncovered one of the most advanced cross-border smuggling tunnels in American history. The discovery was made near Yuma, Arizona, along a remote stretch of the U.S.-Mexico border. The passage extended nearly 2,900 foot over half a mile and dropped 50 feet below ground. Unlike crude tunnels discovered in past operations, this one was engineered with reinforced walls, ventilation, lighting, and a rail system to move cargo efficiently. Customs and Border Protection officials described it as resembling a subway corridor rather than an improvised smuggler's hole. The tunnel came to light through aerial surveillance. Drones patrolling the Yuma, San Luis Rio, Colorado region identified unusual thermal anomalies in the soil. Infrared imaging confirmed linear underground disruptions, prompting ground teams to deploy penetrating radar. Excavation revealed a reinforced shaft leading into a complex structure that stunned agents upon entry. Authorities later said it was one of the most sophisticated tunnels ever intercepted on U.S. soil. This is one of the most sophisticated tunnels we've seen in the United States, just because the material used to build it up and the terrain that it had to traverse through them, it makes it really special. This tunnel in particular had a wood pallet floor the whole way of the tunnel, and it had a rail system run through it as well. The detection of the tunnel set off immediate emergency protocols. U.S. authorities closed down a 5-mile stretch of the Arizona border near Yuma, sealing both official ports of entry and informal desert routes. No vehicles were allowed in or out. Highway signs in Arizona displayed detour warnings while drones and helicopters increased area patrols. Local sheriffs were instructed to evacuate areas near the suspected exit points, and canine units were deployed to search for evidence of secondary tunnels or hidden stash houses. According to Customs and Border Protection, agents feared that if one tunnel of this magnitude existed, others could be operating nearby or worse, already in use. The engineering required to construct such a tunnel is significant. The soil in Yuma presents challenges for excavation because it is loose and prone to collapse. Yet the tunnel discovered in June remained intact, lined with reinforced walls and equipped with power and ventilation. This has been the longest. It's approximately 1,300 feet long, starting in Mexico and all the way to the U.S. It's approximately 3 feet wide, approximately 4 feet high. It's got very good materials. They've been calling it the most sophisticated, but what make this one unique is that the terrain in Yuma is very hard to dig a tunnel. The sand is very loose, and most of them end up caving. So the fact that the material was very well built, and they had ventilation, it had water, it had a rail system, wooded walls, roof, floor, electrical makes this one a very unique type of tunnel. This description applied to an earlier Yuma tunnel, but the June discovery exceeded those specifications with a wider structure, longer length, and steel reinforcements in place of wood. Cartel organizations have a long history of building cross-border tunnels. According to Homeland Security investigations, nearly 200 such tunnels have been discovered since the 1990s, with the majority concentrated in Nogales, Arizona, and Otay Mesa, California. Over the years, U.S. and Mexican authorities have found and destroyed over 180 tunnels along this border. The question, they say, isn't whether there are more tunnels, but how many and where. Many of these tunnels connect warehouses or residential homes on the Mexican side directly to industrial buildings, garages, or storage facilities on the U.S. side. Some have been fitted with elevators, hydraulically operated trapdoors, and disguised exits hidden beneath concrete floors. In one case near San Diego, authorities uncovered a tunnel nearly 6 football fields long, complete with rail, tracks, lighting, and air circulation systems. Despite the impressive engineering, constructing tunnels of this scale is dangerous and costly. Workers are often recruited from local communities or coerced into service, digging for weeks or months with limited resources. Deaths during collapses are not uncommon. Still, cartels consider the risk worth the reward. A single 400-pound shipment of narcotics moved successfully can pay for the tunnel's construction many times over. The Yuma tunnel represents a strategic shift in cartel operations. For decades, most tunnel discoveries occurred in the Tijuana-San Diego corridor, where urban infrastructure allowed construction to be concealed. However, increased surveillance in California has pushed smugglers to relocate operations into Arizona, where terrain is softer and less populated, making underground excavation easier to conceal. Intelligence officials have noted that in the last 6 months alone, at least 3 tunnels have been uncovered in Yuma region, more than some entire years of tunnel discoveries combined. This indicates a deliberate expansion by cartels into Arizona, exploiting weaker surveillance systems and less fortified border zones. Authorities believe the Sinaloa cartel is likely responsible for the tunnel. The group has historically pioneered tunnel construction as a smuggling smuggling strategy with El Chapo Guzman, famously using a tunnel equipped with a motorcycle on rails to escape from Alaplano prison in Mexico. In addition, intercepted cartel communications have revealed discussions about digging deeper and avoiding surface windows, detectable by U.S. drone scans. These phrases have since become flag indicators in intelligence monitoring. Analysts suggest that cartels are hiring mining engineers and construction specialists to lead excavation projects, ensuring the tunnels remain undetectable while being structurally sound enough for long-term use. As soon as the tunnel was confirmed, U.S. officials decided on a permanent solution. The structure would be filled entirely with concrete to prevent future use. This method has been used in Nalas and Otay Mesa, where previously discovered tunnels were similarly neutralized. Although expensive and labor-intensive, filling tunnels ensures they cannot be reclaimed or repaired by criminal organizations. Engineers first conducted a full mapping of the Yuma tunnel, calculating the volume of concrete required to completely encase it. Drones monitored the operation for air shifts and potential collapses during the process. Safety was critical, as tunnels of this size can destabilize surrounding ground if improperly filled. The discovery and immediate shutdown of the Yuma Super tunnel shocked both local communities and federal agencies. The fact that such an extensive underground system exists beneath Arizona underscored the scale of cartel operations and the vulnerability of U.S. border defenses. Lawmakers quickly called for emergency measures to improve detection technology, including more ground-penetrating radar systems, smarter drone surveillance software, and increased personnel dedicated to subterranean monitoring. Critics questioned why such a tunnel was not discovered sooner, despite the apparent sophistication and size. Others argued that tunnels of this scale are inevitable given the billions of dollars cartels can invest in bypassing border security. By the time the Yuma tunnel was filled with concrete, its discovery had already altered the strategic outlook on border security. Experts noted that cartels were no longer constructing small, crude passages. Instead, they were building underground highways engineered to withstand years of operation, capable of moving vast quantities of narcotics and potentially even armed operatives or contraband. Other than drugs, the sophistication of the Yuma tunnel demonstrated that U.S. surveillance and enforcement efforts must adapt rapidly or risk being outpaced by the ingenuity and resources of transnational criminal organizations. The DEA's coordinated multi-agency raid and arrests. Once the Yuma tunnel was secured and mapped, U.S. authorities launched a sweeping enforcement operation that led to 62 arrests and the seizure of more than 4 tons of cocaine. The raid was the culmination of months of intelligence gathering, cross-agency coordination, and surveillance efforts aimed at dismantling one of the most elaborate trafficking infrastructures ever attempted along the U.S.-Mexico border. The operation involved the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and local Arizona law enforcement. On the Mexican side, federal police assisted in securing the tunnel entrance near San Luis Rio, Colorado. The decision to conduct simultaneous raids was made to ensure that no individuals could escape from either end of the tunnel or associated stash houses. Officials emphasized that the level of coordination was unusually high, underscoring the seriousness of the threat. According to federal prosecutors, the tunnel's U.S. exit point was concealed beneath an industrial warehouse floor near Yuma. Inside, agents discovered hidden compartments and loading platforms, suggesting the site was intended to serve as a major transshipment hub. Vehicles could drive into the facility, load cargo, transported through the tunnel, and then depart unnoticed into local distribution routes. When the raid began, agents intercepted several vehicles attempting to leave the area. Searches of those vehicles revealed packages of narcotics, leading directly to the warehouse entry point. At the time of seizure, the tunnel had not yet been fully operational, but significant quantities of narcotics were already staged for transport. Agents ultimately confiscated more than 8,000 pounds of cocaine, stacked in tightly wrapped bricks, along with smaller amounts of methamphetamine, fentanyl, and heroin. Firearms and cash, totaling millions of dollars, were also seized. The haul represented one of the largest single seizures of cocaine in Arizona history and confirmed that the tunnel was intended to serve as a primary artery for cartel drug shipments. The arrests included suspected cartel operatives, warehouse managers, drivers, and logistical coordinators. Authorities stated that the majority of those apprehended were linked to the Sinaloa cartel, which continues to dominate cross-border trafficking operations in Arizona. Several of the arrested individuals were U.S. citizens recruited to provide cover, transport, or financial laundering for cartel shipments. Intelligence reports suggested that at least some of the defendants had backgrounds in construction or trucking, which enabled them to assist in disguising the tunnel's use and moving narcotics across U.S. highways once shipments emerged. The level of sophistication mirrored earlier tunnel seizures in California. In one case near Otay Mesa, a 1,744 feet long tunnel equipped with rail tracks and ventilation was discovered leading into a warehouse. Authorities intercepted 1,750 lbs of cocaine in that operation alone, with multiple arrests. The Yuma raid demonstrated that such operations are no longer isolated to California. Arizona, once thought to be less vulnerable due to its desert terrain, is now a central front in the battle against subterranean smuggling. Authorities stressed that these tunnels are not makeshift projects but deliberate investments by cartels, often costing millions of dollars in months of construction. To justify such costs, they must be intended for high-volume, long-term use, moving tons of narcotics per shipment. Agents who participated in the raid reported that the tunnel included multiple safety and security features designed to protect cartel workers and shipments. These included reinforced walls, multiple exit points, booby trap, barricades, and powered lighting. These precautions ensured that the tunnel could handle repeated heavy traffic without collapse and that U.S. detection. Efforts would be slowed by improvised barriers. The 62 arrests in Arizona echoed a broader pattern of cartel enforcement actions across the United States. Just months earlier, a nationwide DEA surge operation had resulted in more than 600 arrests linked to the Sinaloa cartel. That week-long operation seized nearly 7,500 kilograms of cocaine, 29 kg of methamphetamine, 480 kilograms of fentanyl, and over 11 million in cash. The Yuma bust, though localized, was significant because it targeted a high-capacity smuggling corridor rather than scattered distribution cells. Special Agent John Colleary of the DEA's San Diego Division explained the impact of such seizures. The Yuma tunnels design aligns with this assessment, suggesting that cartels are increasingly seeking bulk smuggling methods to bypass tightened surface controls. Authorities also pointed out the dangers posed by such tunnels beyond drug trafficking. Cross-border tunnels can facilitate human smuggling, weapons trafficking, and potential national security threats. NBC News reported footage of migrants, including children, being led through cartel tunnels in June 2025. The possibility that tunnels could be used for trafficking people or other contraband compounds the urgency for interdiction. The logistics of the Arizona raid highlight the meticulous planning required to dismantle such networks. Agents staged the operation over several days, conducting surveillance on suspected cartel affiliates in Yuma and tracking their movements. Once enough evidence was gathered, simultaneous warrants were executed at the tunnel's U.S. warehouse, multiple stash houses, and transport vehicles. Defendants were taken into custody before they could disperse. Prosecutors have since charged dozens of individuals with conspiracy to distribute narcotics, possession with intent to distribute, and money laundering. Officials emphasized that while this raid was successful, it is likely that other tunnels remain undiscovered. Cartels are known to dig multiple decoy tunnels or abandon partially completed ones to distract authorities. The Yuma operation demonstrated that even when a tunnel is detected, agents must act quickly to prevent cartels from shifting operations elsewhere. Authorities caution that every successful seizure represents only a fraction of the total flow. As one DEA agent explained, traffickers need only succeed occasionally while law enforcement must succeed every time. The 4-ton cocaine seizure in Arizona dealt a financial blow to the cartel. But analysts warned that such losses are quickly absorbed. Cocaine production in South America remains high, with cartels transporting bulk shipments northward through Mexico before funneling them into the U.S. through land crossings, hidden compartments, and tunnels. Each ton of cocaine represents tens of millions of dollars in street value, meaning the Yuma bust disrupted shipments worth hundreds of millions. However, with billions in annual revenue, the cartel can replenish lost product rapidly. For local Arizona communities, the raid underscored the proximity of cartel operations. Residents near Yuma were shocked to learn that an industrial facility in their area had been used as a smuggling hub. Authorities reassured the public that the tunnel had been neutralized, but urged vigilance, noting that suspicious activity such as unusual construction, truck traffic, or soil displacement should be reported immediately. Border Patrol officials also called on businesses in border zones to monitor for signs of underground activity. The Yuma tunnel raid joins a growing list of high-profile busts across the Southwest, illustrating both the scale of cartel investment in subterranean smuggling and the increasing sophistication of U.S. countermeasures. It also demonstrated the crucial role of interagency collaboration, as no single agency could have detected, mapped, and dismantled such a network on its own. The operation's success was made possible by the integration of intelligence, surveillance technology, and on-the-ground enforcement working in tandem. The bigger picture: cartels shifting strategies, and what comes next. The discovery of the Arizona Supertunnel and the subsequent DEA raid must be understood as part of a larger evolution. In cartel strategy, smuggling organizations are no longer relying primarily on small-scale tunnels, improvised surface routes, or hidden compartments in vehicles. Instead, they are building what authorities describe as subterranean highways engineered with precision and reinforced for long-term use. This shift has transformed the U.S.-Mexico border into a multi-layered battlefield, one where technology, geography, and engineering determine who controls the flow of narcotics. Historically, the majority of tunnels were concentrated in the San Diego-Tijuana corridor. According to Customs and Border Protection, more than 100 of the 180 tunnels discovered since the 1990s were found in Nales, Arizona, or Otay Mesa, California. These urbanized regions provided cover with warehouses, drainage systems, and homes masking tunnel entrances. However, heightened surveillance and improved fencing in California have pushed cartels eastward. Intelligence assessments now indicate that Arizona is rapidly becoming the preferred corridor, with at least 3 tunnels uncovered near Yuma in the past 6 months alone. The shift is driven by geography and surveillance disparity. Arizona's desert terrain is softer and less populated, making underground excavation easier to conceal. Surveillance in this region has historically emphasized above-ground movement, tracking migrants, vehicles, and drones rather than subterranean activity. This blind spot has allowed cartels to expand underground operations with less risk of early detection. Experts describe the trend as systematic rather than opportunistic, a deliberate repositioning of smuggling infrastructure away from heavily monitored areas into zones of relative vulnerability. The engineering sophistication of these tunnels reveals the degree of cartel investment. Construction involves reinforced walls, electrical systems, and rail lines, features more commonly associated with municipal infrastructure projects than criminal enterprises. Authorities believe cartels are increasingly recruiting mining engineers, geologists, and construction specialists to oversee these operations. Informants have reported that some cartels pay salaries to engineers rivaling those in legitimate industries, offering protection and financial incentives in exchange for expertise. Reports have even suggested that cartels have obtained or stolen blueprints from legitimate mining firms to model excavation strategies. The phrase dig deeper has become a focal point in intelligence monitoring. Encrypted messages intercepted by U.S. agencies include directives such as close the surface windows and dig deeper, interpreted as instructions to avoid detection by drones and ground penetrating radar. This indicates an awareness of U.S. surveillance methods and a determination to adapt faster than law enforcement can. Analysts warn that as detection technology improves, cartels will continue to respond with deeper tunnels, more advanced materials, and decoy operations designed to divert attention. Political responses have been swift. Following the Yuma discovery, lawmakers convened emergency hearings to address deficiencies in border security technology. Several members of Congress criticized the fact that detection relied on drones rather than permanent subterranean monitoring systems. Proposals were introduced to expand the use of mobile ground penetrating radar, seismic sensors, and artificial intelligence software capable of analyzing soil anomalies in real time. Bipartisan agreement emerged around the need for significant new investment in underground surveillance, though debates remain over funding levels and the balance between border enforcement and immigration reform. Cartel's strategic use of tunnels also highlights the economics of smuggling. Constructing a half-mile reinforced tunnel may cost millions, but a single successful load of cocaine weighing several tons can generate profits far exceeding construction costs. This economic calculation incentivizes cartels to continue investing in tunnel infrastructure despite the risks of discovery and demolition. For every tunnel filled with concrete, others may already be under construction. Authorities emphasize that dismantling tunnels inflicts both financial and operational damage on cartels. Still, officials acknowledge that disruption does not equate to elimination. As one DEA agent noted, traffickers can be wrong 9 times out of 10 and still succeed if just one tunnel goes undetected. Law enforcement, in contrast, must succeed every time to prevent narcotics from entering the U.S. The strategic landscape is further complicated by cartel competition. Groups such as the Sinaloa Cartel and the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJANG, are locked in ongoing conflict for control of smuggling routes. Intelligence suggests that tunnels are both symbols of dominance and practical assets, giving cartels leverage in negotiations and rivalries. The Yuma Tunnel, attributed primarily to the Sinaloa Cartel, demonstrates the group's continued influence despite leadership arrests and internal fractures. Its construction illustrates not only logistical ambition, but also a statement of territorial control. Law enforcement responses are evolving accordingly. In addition to tunnel detection, agencies are investing in counterintelligence, informant networks, and cooperation with Mexican counterparts. While coordination remains imperfect due to geopolitical and jurisdictional challenges, authorities stress that cross-intelligence sharing is critical. At the community level, public awareness campaigns are being emphasized. Authorities urge residents of border regions to report suspicious construction, unusual vehicle, traffic, or soil displacement near warehouses or homes. Officials argue that community cooperation is essential, given that many tunnels are discovered accidentally through cave-ins, utility inspections, or tips from local observers. Looking forward, experts warn that the U.S. must prepare for even more advanced tunnel systems. Future designs may incorporate multiple branches, concealed exits, and reinforced shafts capable of resisting detection and demolition. Some intelligence suggests cartels are experimenting with electronic jamming devices to disrupt drone signals and ground sensors, buying time for shipments to move undetected. Others report that cartels are using decoy tunnels, structures intentionally abandoned or poorly built to lure agents away from the true operational corridors. The Yuma Super Tunnel, with its steel reinforcements, ventilation, and rail system, represents a new stage in this arms race. It demonstrates that cartels view subterranean engineering as a strategic investment, one that combines criminal enterprise with professional infrastructure. The DEA raid, while a significant victory, also underscores the ongoing challenge. Each tunnel destroyed is evidence of how far cartels are willing to go and how much further law enforcement must push to stay ahead. Ultimately, the battle against tunnels is not just about seizing drugs or arresting traffickers. It is about protecting communities, safeguarding national security, and closing vulnerabilities that criminal organizations exploit with increasing sophistication. As DEA Administrator Taryn Cole stated in a recent press briefing, the Yuma operation was one such defense, a reminder that beneath the desert floor, a shadow war continues, one measured in concrete, steel, and the determination to control what moves unseen. If you're into this kind of content, the suggested cards on your screen have more waiting for you. Check them out now.